Well, one of the things that we do in the month of March is we can go out there and plant several of our cool season crops in our garden beds. So here behind me I have one of my raised bed garden beds, and as you can see, it's kind of deeper on this end, shallower on the far end. On this end I like to plant things like potatoes and some root crops and things that need a deeper root system. Up there where it's a shallower, I can plant lettuce, radishes, onions, a few things of that nature that don't need to go so deep. I have recently just topped off this raised bed with compost because the soil or media will settle each year, and it was 3 or 4 inches below level, so I've topped it off with some compost, mixed it in with the existing soil there, and I've already fertilized that and mixed it in as well. So now I'm getting ready to mark off squares because I use the intensive gardening method in planting my raised beds, and then we'll see some of the plants we can plant in the month of March. Okay, one thing I can plant in late February, early March is potatoes, and you can see we have seed potatoes here with little eyes popping out, and you'll need to cut these up so you can have at least a good eye per seed potato, such as this. You can see an eye per, and then these are just right for planting. And as you can see, we've cut up several seed potatoes. In a square foot gardening, because the soil is so rich, you can really plant a lot in a square foot. The guide for potatoes is 4 potatoes per square foot. Potato plants get very big, but that's the recommendation. So we're planting them 4 per square foot. Okay, what I'm going to do now is plant some broccoli, cauliflower, onion sets, and some lettuce. And we're going to put these down here on this end of the bed. I'm not filling my entire bed up with my early planting, saving a little space for some warmer stuff that comes in a little later, or maybe a little more space for some more lettuce. I like to plant in succession with my lettuce because every 2 weeks that'd give me a different batch coming off. So we're going to plant cauliflower and broccoli. You're supposed to put 1 plant per square foot. With the lettuce, we just sow a square foot and cover up the seed a little bit. And I've got 4 different mixes. I'm going to sow a square foot for each. And then onion sets, you can put up to 16 onion plants per square foot. You can really pack the onions in there. So we're going to go ahead and get started with these. Save some for later. So I'm gonna kind of mix it in a little bit. Some people maybe use a hand rake, something else. I'll mix it in, then I pat it down. Okay, one thing I did want to point out is we do have a very good brochure at the office. It's called a quick reference planting guide for vegetable crops, and it lists all of the vegetables you could imagine for your garden, some suggested varieties, the suggested planting date for that vegetable, the distance between plants in a normal traditional row setting, planting depth, approximate number of seeds per ounce, and days to maturity. So this is an excellent guide. I keep one at home with all my garden items, and I refer to it on a regular basis. It's really good for knowing what to plant, looking at some varieties, and how deep to plant them. So quick reference guide. It's at our extension office. We have several right on hand as you walk in the door, or there is a website, but it's a little complicated to get to. But if you want to dig around, go to alexanderextension.com and then click on the lawn and garden link, and you may be able to get to it. Okay, here in the month of March, we have a featured guest and operation here today. We have Bruce Huffman with Bethlehem Greenhouses. And Bethlehem Greenhouses is located on Eichardt Ridge Road, approximately 500 yards from the Bethlehem Arena, almost to Lake Hickory. So today we're just going to let Bruce cover some of the things that he grows and some propagation, but this is one of the many little greenhouses. He's got a huge, big section of greenhouses we're going to go into in a minute. But Bruce, I'm just going to turn it over and let you explain a little bit of what you've got going on here.
Okay. Thank you, Lenny. Basically, this is our spring propagation that we have going on here. We have anywhere from plants that have just been transplanted to plants that have actually been transplanted since the first of the year, that we put into baskets and we put into different types of flats. Also out here, this is what we consider our cold house. We keep this greenhouse probably 10 degrees cooler than we keep the other greenhouses, and this is where we kind of toughen plants off before we take them outside to sell also. So that's basically what we do in here. We have fuchsias in here, some calibrachoa million bells that can tolerate a little lower temperatures. We have Gerber daisies, and of course dianthus, snapdragons, that type of thing. And we also start our cold weather vegetables in here: cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, that type of thing.
I know it gets really booming around the end of April or so in here.
Well, usually our biggest time is from the month of April, whenever you can really start taking stuff straight from the greenhouse outside. Usually you need to wait in this area until about the 15th of April. If you really want to be safe, probably the 1st of May. But you know, everybody wants to push it, especially on tomatoes and some of your cucumbers and that type of thing. But you have to really be careful. So, but our biggest months are April, May, and June.
Right.
And then we sell mums again in the fall, and then we service a lot of the churches and florists for poinsettias in December.
Right. I know there's a lot of annuals, but also a lot of perennials. Bruce has a wide variety of perennials. I've been buying them here for years, and you do have some shrubbery and a few shade trees.
We don't do a lot of shrubbery and shade trees anymore because you have to just keep moving them up, and we eventually run out of it's too much operation for us to try to handle bigger plants. But we do have, you can see in the background here, some of the we try to sell this from the start of the perennials up into gallon size, that type of thing. But we don't try to go much beyond that.
Okay, very good. So we'll take a look around and see what else Bruce has here.
We basically have three ways that we grow our plants, and we grow all of them from the start. And one of the ways is from seeds, and this is basically just a flat of petunias. We have 4 different varieties. Right now we're basically starting our main crop of tomatoes and peppers that we'll sell in mid-April. But basically we plant the seed here, and once it gets to this stage to where everything seems to have been germinated, then we take it out of here and put it into just put it out into the greenhouse. Basically, most of your seeds are going to germinate from 60 to 80 degrees, and depending on what the temperature is, we have a temperature of probably about 60 to 62 in the bottom, and probably around 70 in the middle and up to about 75 to 80 depending on the outside temperature. So we could, it just kind of depends, and then of course we go by whatever is recommended by the different types of plants to where we actually set it in here. And of course you'll have most plants that will germinate from a couple of days in the case of marigolds to, these are petunias here, that takes them about a week to 10 days to get to this stage. Tomatoes probably 5 or 6 days. Okay, basically we're going to show here how we actually get to that point to where we have our plants. This is just a flat of soil. It's fine germinating soil, and this is some alyssum that I'm beginning to plant or starting to plant right now. This is actually our second crop, and this is a hand sower that vibrates, and I'll just kind of give you an idea here of how we do it. And basically you just want to kind of keep it evenly sown over the area. And hopefully not clump it up too much. And if I did it right, it should be about 1,000 to 1,500 seeds there.
Okay, this is another way Bruce gets plants for his greenhouse operation. I'll let him explain that to you.
Okay, these actually came in about mid-December. Well, actually, yeah, probably mid-December to mid-January. This is some scavola here, and we basically put it inside this tank anywhere from 3 weeks to maybe 7 or 8 weeks, depending on the plant.
Now, you took cuttings from an original plant.
No, actually, these came in as cuttings.
As cuttings.
We buy cuttings, yeah. Now, sometimes we do our own cuttings, depending on the plant, and depending on what type of patent there is on it and so forth. Most of these we get in from the different distributors that have cuttings. But basically, it comes in a cutting, and we put it in this tank, and basically keep the tops moist until the plant actually develops roots. Now these are ready to come out of the tank, and then we'll let them just sit on the table for probably 4 or 5 days, and then we'll plant them into a bigger cup or into a basket.
And this gets a lot of moisture, and we'll see that in a minute how the spray system works.
It actually will. We have a timer on it that actually misses about 10 seconds every 10 minutes, and basically we do that on a cloudy day like this. We don't do it at all to try to avoid problems with disease, but on a sunny day it needs to run most of the day. The third way that we get our plants in is we actually get rooted cuttings, which means that it comes in little trays and it has the roots already developed, and then we just plant them into our own pots and baskets and so forth. As you can see here, here's one that we planted last week. I'll show you a little bit closer on this, but the roots are starting to come out on the plant now, but it really hasn't taken hold yet. So it takes, it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks to really develop where they're ready to sell. So we actually have these coming in time for mid-April to early May.
Okay, another thing that Bruce sells a lot of is herbs, and of course he sells them individually, but they do pot them up in mixture. So tell us about that, Bruce.
Okay. This is parsley. We actually have, we use about 5 of the most common herbs. We use parsley, we use basil, some English thyme, some oregano, chives, or we have some others that we use too, but we basically put them into like a 10-inch pot. And a lot of our church groups, or a couple of our church groups and some of the other clubs will sell them for fundraisers, and they just sell them as an herb pot. And also you could put them in baskets or whatever, but we have probably about 10 or 12 varieties of different types of herbs.
Okay, another important part of the greenhouse operation is the vegetable transplant area, and Bruce grows a lot of those, so I'll let Bruce cover that.
Okay. This basically is the room that we keep our peppers and tomatoes in. We have probably, right now we have 3 crops of tomatoes that we've already transplanted. This was one of the first. These will actually go into gallon pots, and they'll probably be 3 foot tall by the time we sell those in mid-April. And then we try to produce tomatoes and peppers about every 2 to 3 weeks, have a crop coming off. And we try to keep tomatoes up until at least mid-July. At least some varieties. We don't have our full selection, but we do have quite a few. But we also do, and we're just now starting to do some cucumbers. We do about 4 varieties of cucumbers. We do squash. We do 3 varieties of squash. We do watermelons, cantaloupes. And we actually hand seed those in individual trays. But we try to just plan those about 3 to 4 weeks in advance of when we're going to be starting to sell them, because they're a lot, they grow a lot more rapidly.
Another last major part, I believe, of the greenhouse is the hanging baskets, and Bruce usually sees me over here in the spring to buy 1 or 2 for Mother's Day or something. So Bruce, explain to us about your hanging basket.
Well, basically we have baskets that we start about the 1st of January, and this is a basket of Bacopa, a mixed basket that will be ready to sell here toward the end of March, 1st of April. We have geraniums. We'll do 3 or 4 crops of those that we can sell them like this, or we also will move them up into a 12-inch color pot. Some of our biggest sellers are petunias, calibrachoa, million bells, that type of thing, and we sell lots of them. But we also, a lot of the different churches and so forth have a lot of plant sales that they use those, and so they'll purchase a lot of the plants for that. But we probably, I don't know, there again, we'll have those until mid-July.
And you make some of the beautifulest hanging basket arrangements I've ever seen. I will vouch for that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Here in the month of March, we've seen a lot of things in the greenhouse that are have been transplanted, and things that'll probably be ready more towards April, but we still have things for sale outside that can be planted in March. A lot of these perennials Bruce has outside on some racks. So Bruce, tell us about some of these.
Okay. We basically have, this time of year, about the only thing that you can plant in March would be your violas, your pansies, and of course the pansies will not have a long season because they'll need to be pulled up before it gets extremely hot. But we have cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower. We have some Brussels sprouts, lettuces. All these have been taken outside and they've been hardened off and actually frozen, so they're ready to go. And actually now is the best time of the year of the spring. You need to get your broccoli, cauliflower, that type of thing in the ground now, so that it will have a chance to produce before it gets too hot. So we sell a lot of it to the different hardwares and also to individuals.
Very good. Okay, as we go into March, there's a lot of things you can do in the garden. There are a lot of plants in flower this month: the saucer magnolia, the Bradford pear, flowering cherry, forsythia, spirea, flowering quince, Carolina jasmine, periwinkle, thrift, violets, crocus, daffodils, hyacinths, tulips. A lot of things come into bloom in the month of March. Thank goodness. We've been looking forward to these flowers. Things you can fertilize in this month. You can fertilize your shrubs. You can fertilize your shade trees, asparagus in early March before the spears begin to grow, and then fertilize any of your vegetables as you're planting them in the garden, or based on your soil test results, till it up in the garden before you plant. So a lot of things you can fertilize. Okay, as far as planting goes for the month of March, you can plant a tree for Arbor Day. You know, Arbor Day is always the first Friday after March 15th. So plant a tree for that. You can plant your small fruit plants and vines, grapevines, fruit trees. All of that can be planted in March. A lot of those we're selling through our small fruit plant sale. New shrubs and ground covers can be divided and planted in March. Also, you can plant seeds for some of your perennials like columbine, hollyhock, coreopsis, daisy, phlox, sweet williams, And a lot of these, go ahead and plant the seeds for those this month. Also, of course, plant a lot of the vegetable crops, which we've covered today. So vegetables, a lot of your cool season vegetables planted this month. Okay, pruning. Things that you can prune are your fruit trees. Prune your spring flowering plants that have spring flowers this month after the flowers fade. Prune your roses late in March. Prune shrubs like Abelia, Mahonia, Nandina this month if needed. Pick off the faded flowers off of pansies and daffodils, and pansies will flower longer if you go ahead and remove those old flowers. Things for spraying. You may need to spray a little bit on a few things. Start your rose spray program prior to bud break this month. You can spray your apple and pear trees with a streptomycin spray for fire blight to prevent that from occurring. And that pretty much covers it for sprays in the month of March. Okay, let's talk a little bit about lawn care for the month of March. Cool season lawns such as this, if not fertilized already, need to be fertilized with 10-10-10 or some multiple blend fertilizer. Also, we need to look at when as the temperatures warm up and grass begins to grow, mow the grass, keep it at 3 to 4 inches, no shorter than that, but mow it down to that height. Also, it's time of the year that we need to look at broadleaf weeds or that type of thing. You may be needing to spray with a Trimec, Weed Be Gone, or some other three-way spray for broadleaves. But most importantly, this is the time of year to put out your pre-emergent crabgrass control. If you have crabgrass problems, you need to put it out about the time. Now would be fine, but forsythias, when they bloom, it's usually a reminder to put out your crabgrass control. Crabgrass germinates when the soil temperature is about 55 degrees, and that's usually when the dogwoods bloom. So when that soil temperature averages 55, like I say, is when the dogwoods bloom. So that may be too late. You got to get it out before then. So anytime now, if you see the forsythias blooming, put it out then. It needs to be water activated by rain or from a water hose, whatever. And then when those crabgrass seedlings germinate, come up through the ground, they're killed by that pre-emergent herbicide. The life of that is only 7 to 8 weeks, so if you have a bad crabgrass problem, 7 to 8 weeks later, you'll need to put out another dosage of that. There's a lot of different pre-emerge crabgrass controls out there, Dimension, Pendulum, various other ones, but now's the time to get that out there. Okay, a couple other specific chores for the month of March. As we're getting into the gardening season, the big full swing season, you need to check out your garden supplies like fertilizers, lime, any sprays, or any amendments, things of that nature that you usually keep on hand. Make sure you have adequate supplies as we're going into the garden season. Also, your garden equipment. You need to make sure everything is functioning properly, whether it's tillers, mowers, rakes, hand pruners, sprayers, whatever it might be, weed trimmers, whatever. It's going to be time to use them this month or next at the latest. So make sure all of those things are in good working order. And then also, as things are starting to break out from the ground, a lot of your perennials, a lot of your things of that nature, peonies, hollyhock, your pampas grasses, any of that, you need to cut all the old growth back to get ready for that new luscious green growth that's getting ready to sprout. So clean up all of those old type of plants as we're starting to get some warm days to get out here and work on them. And then finally, if you're still needing some strawberries, blueberries, we have our extension plant sale. Pickup date is March 15th. If I don't know exactly what we still have left, but I know we had some strawberries and blueberries, possibly some grapes, few fruit trees maybe, but give us a call at the extension office, 632-4451. Pickup date's March 15th, and we may have some plants after that. Just give us a call or check us out online, alexanderextension.com.